Rajesh stared at his reflection in the cracked mirror of his one-room apartment in Dharavi. 28 years old, engineering degree gathering dust, and barely enough money for next month's rent. But something burned in his eyes that morning. A fire that refused to die despite 3 years of rejection letters and failed interviews. His journey hadn't started here. Born in a small village near Pune, Rajesh was the first in his family to attend college. His father, a daily wage laborer, had sold their only piece of land to fund his education. The weight of that sacrifice pressed on his shoulders every single day. When he graduated with decent marks, everyone expected him to land a good job immediately. Reality hit differently. The first year in Mumbai was brutal. He shared a tiny room with 4 other hopefuls, all chasing the same dream. Interview after interview, he faced the same questions, the same polite rejections. "We'll get back to you," they'd say. But the calls never came. His confidence began cracking like old paint on a wall. By the second year, desperation crept in. He took odd jobs, delivering food, data entry work, anything to survive. His college friends had moved on, some to decent positions, others back to their hometowns. Rajesh felt stuck between two worlds, too proud to return home empty-handed, too stubborn to give up on his dreams. The turning point came during his darkest hour. Sitting in a crowded local train after another failed interview, he overheard two passengers discussing a new startup, looking for someone with his exact skills. But there was a catch. They couldn't pay much initially, and the work would be demanding. Most people would have walked away. Rajesh saw opportunity. He researched the company thoroughly, learned about their vision, and prepared like never before. When he walked into that small office in Andheri, he didn't just present his resume, he presented solutions. He had identified 3 specific problems their product faced and came with detailed proposals to fix them. The founders were impressed, but the salary they offered was barely enough to survive. Rajesh negotiated something unusual, a lower base salary with equity in the company. His friends called him crazy. His family worried he was making another mistake. But Rajesh had learned to trust his instincts. The next 18 months tested every fiber of his being. 16-hour workdays became normal. He coded, debugged, pitched to clients and even cleaned the office when needed. There were nights he slept on the office couch, mornings he skipped meals to save money. But slowly things began changing. The startup's first major client came through a solution Rajesh had developed. Then another. The company grew from 5 people to 20, then 50. With each milestone, his equity became more valuable. More importantly, he was learning skills no classroom could teach. Leadership, resilience, and the art of turning problems into opportunities. 3 years later, when a major tech company acquired their startup, Rajesh's equity was worth more than he had ever imagined. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the person he had become. The scared young man from Dharavi had transformed into someone who could create value from nothing. Today, Rajesh runs his own company, employing over 200 people. He still lives simply, but now by choice rather than necessity. Every month, he visits colleges to share his story, not to boast, but to remind students that success isn't about avoiding failure, it's about refusing to let failure define you. His father's sacrifice had planted a seed. Mumbai's harsh realities had watered it with struggle. But it was Rajesh's unwavering belief in himself that made it bloom into something beautiful. Sometimes the longest journeys lead to the most meaningful destinations.